why do you care about music?
Well, music's been a great part of my life, but to go back, I'm Chuck Conrad. I own KZQX, aka QXFM, also KDOK radio, and KYZS in Tyler, which just rebroadcasts KDOK. But I've been in the music business all my life, it seems like. A good song's a good song. It doesn't matter if it was written 500 years ago or yesterday.
Right.
If it's a good song, it's a good song, and if it's not, well, that's what we called one-hit wonders. You know?
Right.
And there were a bunch of those. I had a little girl call me one day at the station, and Frank Sinatra was playing, okay? And she says, "Who's that's singing right now that sounds just like Michael Bublé?"
Sure.
I went, I think it's the other way around, but that's Frank Sinatra.
And you have to hold on to that. You can't beat them up for
not
discovering it in the correct order.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about the two stations and their identity.
QXFM, when it first started out, was a big band station. The discovery of some of that music for me was a really big deal. I mean, this became more than a hobby. It was like, wow, this is really
revelation.
Neat. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was about talent and musicianship. Really, that was it. But over the years, it's morphed into an oldies station, basically. But it's real oldies. I mean, we play stuff from the 1950s, 60s, 70s, but there's 80s, even some 90s. There's even some current stuff that I throw in there. So it's very eclectic. It has a very big playlist, about 1,800 songs typically in a month, which is, most radio stations have 300 or 400 songs they play forever. That if you can remember a little bit of the tune, maybe hum it or whistle it or even sing a couple or three words of it, it's probably a pretty good song.
Because it sticks.
It sticks, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people call that an earworm.
Oh, yeah.
KDOK is more, it was one of the big top 40 stations in Tyler back in the 1960s. I just thought there was an opening here for something that wasn't a hard rock station. I mean,
Sure.
you know, you can have all the Van Halen and Aerosmith and stuff like that, and that's good music too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Somebody's already doing it though, so both stations have kind of the same identity. Both stations do if you're old enough to remember 45 RPM records or whatever, you're our kind of listener, or even if you're not old enough to remember 45 RPM records, you're still our kind of listener.
Right.
You know, there's things like that. And we try to do it with a little bit of sense of humor. I know I just did one recently that just came to me out of the clear blue, something to the effect that, like, I think it goes, "So some of your friends don't like the music we play on KDOK? Maybe it's time for some brand new friends."
Yeah, get some new friends.
Get some better friends, you know.
There you go. There you go. But radio has such a funny ability to trigger memory.
It does.
And listening to QXFM, you never really know what memory it's going to trigger. There's I think it's Radar Love. There's a bit that says the radio plays that forgotten song.
And Brenda Lee is coming on strong.
It's such a true American thing to have the radio that you don't control. We're driving down the road. This thing is feeding us music that we're not choosing. We don't have any idea what the next song is going to be. And when the first bars come on, it triggers something and it makes us think, you know, I haven't heard this song since da-da-da-da.
That's what radio's got over Spotify or iTunes or something like that. Because you made your own playlist, so you know what's coming next.
You know what's there.
Yeah, I mean, you know it's there.
You don't have a guide.
And you know, with radio, it's a surprise.
It's a surprise.
I had one guy call me up and say, you know, I just love to be surprised, and you do it. You know, so.
And it's so eclectic, and it takes such twists. You never really know what you're going to get. It could be anything.
Sometimes it surprises me too. You know, you're pointing out that it brings back memories, and it really does. In memory care facilities, you know, if you have dementia, things like that, Alzheimer's, it really helps people come back to normalcy a little bit. There's more to music than just, you know, oh, it's a cool tune,
Nice.
I'll give it a 9, you know, because I can dance to it.
Well, there's the songs that you lived to.
Sure.
You lived your life to those songs. And
they spring memories.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it might be your first dance or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, your first date with so-and-so, you know, might be just I got arrested that night. That's
Yeah.
what's on the radio,
Yeah,
you know, whatever.
exactly. My water pump went out, and I was listening to this on the radio while I fixed it.
Yep.
What are some songs that would be squarely, you're definitely going to hear them on both stations? What's a good example of some of those?
Boy, no, I don't have a song list with me, but probably, James Taylor would be, one of the artists that you'd hear a lot of on both stations.
Right.
You'd hear Carly Simon, you would hear Cat Stevens, you would hear Jackson Brown, probably Paul McCartney. Right, you might actually have played this song on a station that you don't think that's the format that it would have been on.
Right.
Because, Carly Simon was on every format there was, just about, for instance.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's almost like Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis.
Having that sort of transitive.
Yeah, I mean, Elvis is fine
could
on
be
a country
anywhere.
station. He's fine on a gospel station. He's fine on an oldies station. You name it. Elvis works. I mean,
Yeah.
he's still paying bills.
Yeah, no, what's an example of a couple of songs that would be on QXFM but wouldn't be on KDOK?
Well,
And why?
okay. Well, you probably won't hear Nat King Cole, for instance,
Okay.
on KDOK, but you will hear him on QXFM. Tony Bennett will probably be on QXFM and not on KDOK. KDOK tends to be rock and roll oriented.
Right.
And it's not that that's just the only kind of music in the world, but it's just its format. Because otherwise, the two stations would be the same. And they actually are very similar. In fact, sometimes I'm not sure which station I have on when I listen to
Right.
it.
No, I agree.
So there's a ton of overlap on them. But you probably won't hear the Andrews sisters on KDOK. I know you won't, in fact, unless
Or Bette
I-
Midler.
or Bette Midler.
Yeah.
But you'll hear her. In fact,
I heard her on the way here.
I did too.
Yeah,
So
that-
she's an example.
Elton John, though, that would
But
be
Elton
in
John
both.
crosses over to both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jackson Brown goes
Sure.
to both. And these were artists that actually were on many different format radio stations.
When it comes to picking music that comes from different eras, how does a song find its way into either station?
I do what all the experts say you should never do, is pick the songs you like. Actually, a really bright businessman, I'll tell you who it was, it's Harley Peavy, Peavy Electronics, sold lots of guitars and
My
stuff.
brother worked with him many years.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Hartley told me one day, he said, what you got to do is figure out what everybody else is doing and do something different.
Yeah.
And I think he was right. I took that to heart, and it's worked for me. So
Well, yours is different. There's no
it's
question.
different. And any radio programmer will tell you that it's completely stupid and it'll never work. Yet on the other hand, I get people who come in here. I've had a lot of radio people come in here and frequently say, not only is the museum cool, but I can't believe your format works, but it really does.
Yeah.
Being local is a big deal for us too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we really try to play local stuff. Local public service announcements, things that are going on here. It's community. That's exactly what it is. That's what the whole thing is with radio. It's community. Your listeners are your community, and we want them to be more involved. You asked how I picked the music, and I was taught years ago, back when I was in college, that you play the first about 10 seconds of the song, and if it grabs you, you play it, and if it doesn't, you throw that disc in the trash can.
Move on.